hope your holiday was well spent. It's Thursday, August 22, and this is InfoHub. In the headlines, President David Granger meets visiting United States delegation. MNCC announces tax amnesty as part of City Week observances. And Minister Greenidge has more to tell us about the Belt and Road Initiative and other factors at play. The details of these stories and much more right now. A team from the U.S. comprising congressmen and military officials have arrived in the country. The delegation has already met with President David Granger and Minister of Natural Resources Raphael Trotman and his team. Details in this report.
The team headed by Republican Bob Goodlatte met with the head of state at the Ministry of the Presidency this morning. Other members of the team included Republicans Steve Cohen, John Rutherford, Scott Peters, Mark Sanford, Richard Hudson, and Todd Rokita, along with other officials. President David Granger described the meeting as fact-finding, noting that he covered 4 areas during the meet. These included the Guyana-Venezuela territorial controversy, Guyana's international relations and the migration of Venezuelans into Guyana, an economic overview which dealt with the traditional sectors, the emerging oil and gas sector, and Guyana's pursuit of a green agenda and environmental conservation.
My brief to them was largely in 4 areas, dealing with points I think they would have been interested in, and I think in that regard was successful. First of all, I dealt with the geographic scenario, the fact that Guyana is a continental state. It's part of the South American continent, but with Caribbean characteristics. It's the only English-speaking state, and as a result of that, we have lots of advantages. But at the same time, we are not only perceived as the gateway to South America for the Caribbean state, but we're the gateway to the Caribbean for South America. And our geographic situation has, of course, implications for border security because of the territorial claim by the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and also claimed by Suriname. I gave them the assurance, truthfully, that Guyana is a very stable country, law-abiding country. Our National Assembly functions, our judiciary functions independently, and also the executive branch. So those 3 branches are separate, and the executive does not interfere in the judiciary or the autonomous commissions.
The 2 sides also discussed areas of cooperation, which he said can be built and enhanced where needed. Such areas include security, energy and disaster response and preparedness. Meanwhile, the U.S. delegation also met with Natural Resources Minister Raphael Trotman and his team, which included representatives of the Guyana Forestry Commission, the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, and the Guyana Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. The high-level visit was announced last week by Minister of State Joseph Harmon during his post-cabinet press briefing, where he said that this is testimony of growing confidence in Guyana. Reporting for InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
Signing on to the China's Belt and Road Initiative does not lead to indebtedness. This was emphasized by Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Greenidge, who explained that the image being created by the media about the agreement is unrealistic and aims to traumatize the public. More in this Stacey Carmichael report.
Economist and Foreign Affairs Minister Carl Greenidge, in further clarifying the inaccuracy of reports related to the China Belt and Road Initiative, said it is highly unlikely that countries receiving loans or grants from China can become heavily indebted from one loan.
As seems now to be fashionable in the media, you try to traumatize the public by portraying every single action of the government as being the first step in a process of meltdown or apocalypse or domination or something like that. Let's get off of that. Economics is a serious business, nothing to do with this zombie economics that the papers are portraying. There are clear issues pertaining to debt. There are clear issues pertaining to aid.
Minister Greenidge said heavy indebtedness is also attributed to changes taking place on the international market. Citing Guyana's case in the early 90s, he noted that the country became a highly indebted country as a result of increased interest rates contracted even in the pre-independence years.
If you becoming highly indebted to China. Yes, there is uncertainty about how that matter is to be solved. What China chooses to do is in a bilateral arrangement, it will reschedule that debt with you. It doesn't do it within the automatic framework of Paris Club. But what I'm saying is that Paris Club is only apparently automatic. And there isn't anybody else. No other country could tell you more about punishing on the Paris Club terms than Guyana. No other country. So what I see by way of a commentary is a joke. Our newspapers ought to be more responsible, look more carefully at the issues. I'm not saying none of the issues has merit. Each country has a responsibility to look carefully at how it incurs debt. But to put one country at the center of the debt problem, anytime you borrow from this country, you're going, is nonsense.
The Paris Club is a group of officials from the major creditor countries whose role is to find coordinated and sustainable solutions to the payment difficulties experienced by debtor countries. Minister Greenidge said while China is not a member of the Paris Club, it does work out with countries through bilateral agreements, debt rescheduling. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael.
The Ministry of Natural Resources takes note of the article headlined "Lab Tests Reveal High Mercury Levels in Some GTT Employees" in today's edition of the Kaitur News. The ministry acknowledges that there has been an exchange of correspondence between the ministry and GTT pertaining to the elevated levels of mercury reportedly detected in some staff members. The ministry has expressed a deep concern about the health and well-being of all Guyanese and hopes for the improved health of those affected. The ministry is engaging the management of GTT and has given its assurance that it will assist in every way possible. Read a full statement from the ministry on our website at dpi.gov.gy. The annual Diabetic Youth Camp opened yesterday, and while interacting with the participants, Minister of Public Health Walter Lawrence urged them to be champions of their condition.
Minister Lawrence was at the time interacting with 35 youths living with type 1 diabetes and their parents at the annual retreat.
I'm so happy to be associated with these wonderful people who have decided that they are going to commit themselves to ensure that boys and girls across the length and breadth of Guyana is given a fighting chance to live just as any other boy or girl.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Shamdeo Prasad also embraced the fact that society must now move away from writing off children and youths diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
A couple of years ago, we decided we wouldn't say minister disease anymore. It's just a condition. And boys and girls, young men and women, ladies and gentlemen, you could live with this condition. You could live to ripe old age. So we would like to, move away from this disease, and, people talk about the sick child and all kinds of things, to more just a condition that unfortunately we live with, some of us, and, we can grow up and achieve just as much.
President of the Guyana Diabetic Association, Glennis Alonzo Beaton, explained that while the camp may be the highlight of annual activities in this regard, GDA engages the youths in a number of beneficial and inspirational exercises.
Outside of the youth camp, we carry them through a phase called project writing, project implementation, and so each child is given the opportunity to work with someone without diabetes on a project. It helps them to grow academically, it helps them to grow mentally, emotionally, and socially.
The camp began on Wednesday and ends on Friday and is being facilitated at Camp Madawini on the Linden-Soosdyke Highway. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
You know anywhere around here sell cigarettes?
I just sell. How much packs you want?
But I see you got no cigarette on display.
Like you in here about the new tobacco control law that passed.
What's that?
It's the law that states that you can't have any cigarettes on display or advertised.
Sell me one cigarette.
Well, the law states that we can't sell you one cigarette nor packs of 10. I could only sell you packs of 20.
Oh, well, I can really got to stop smoking. This thing costing me.
Let's Let's all work together to prevent cigarette smoking-related illnesses.
Thanks for staying with us. Millers on the Essequibo coast have been cautioned by Agriculture Minister Noel Holder about delays in the payments to rice farmers. In a release today, the minister said it was a clear violation of the Rice Factories Act and a clear demonstration of unfair business practices. The minister was responding to concerns raised at a recent outreach in Region 2 by head of the Essequibo Paddy Producers Association, Nate Ram. Minister Holder suggested that if millers are not treating the farmers as they should, the Guyana Rice Development Board, GRDB, can indeed explore withholding milling licenses as is provided for in the Act. More information on this story can be viewed on our website. The Guyana Shore Base Incorporated has expanded and remains on track to be the one-stop shop for offshore oil and gas activities. Tiffany Rogers has the details.
One of the directors of the shore base, Robin Munishwar, explained that development of the facility is being done in phases.
Well, right now we're providing all the water for them, all their casings, and next month we're going to be providing Schlumberger, who is acquired the Gulf Coast property, will be providing the drilling fluids for them.
The aim of the shore base facility is to be a one-stop shop by 2019 for all the materials needed for the Liza development, Munishwar explained.
What is in the pipeline is to provide fuel bunkering for Exxon, to provide a dedicated area for heavy lift, and also to provide a third berth for the vessels. Right now we have 2 berths that are going to be, one is already active, the second one will be active very soon.
Currently, the shore base employs more than 130 persons. Munishwar said this number will be ramped up dramatically as developments continue. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
The Ministry of Education has taken note of an article published in the August 21 edition of the Kaichur News under the headline, "Strike Ready, GTU Hears of Threats to Some Teachers." In the article, it was stated that reports reaching the Guyana Teachers Union, GTU, indicated that some teachers in Region 1 were receiving threats from a senior official that they should not strike but rather report to work when the new school year begins. The ministry notes that an investigation carried out by the Department of Education in Region 1 did not reveal any findings that suggest such a threat was made. The ministry has advised that if indeed such a threat was made by an official from its office, a formal complaint can be made to the ministry since this kind of behavior does not align with the policies of the Ministry of Education. Also on the education front, the Ministry of Social Protection's Labour Department this afternoon disclosed that the Ministry of Education, acting in conformity with the provisions of an existing collective labour agreement, applied for conciliatory services in the current salaries and benefits negotiations between the Guyana Teachers Union and the Ministry. The Ministry of Social Protection has agreed to provide conciliatory services and has invited the parties to a meeting scheduled for 2 p.m. tomorrow, Friday, August 24. Anara Kano tells us that as part of observations of the 175th anniversary of Georgetown, the Mayor and City Council is offering tax amnesty to residents. The council is hoping to collect $20 million owed in outstanding taxes. Here's that report.
This was disclosed today by Deputy Town Clerk Sharon Harry. She said that the amnesty, which was initially slated for Tuesday, August 21, has been extended to Friday, August 24.
For our rates and taxes, persons who have to pay taxes on their properties, they can come into us and they will benefit. They will just have to pay the demand. They will not be, no interest will be levied to them.
The Deputy Town Clerk noted the council is continuously exploring avenues in which they can garner more revenue.
It is no secret that the council is cash-strapped. Some of the ways that we've been looking at in garnering revenue would have been, we have looked at the container tax. Of course, you know that we are in discussion with the Private Sector Commission as it relates to container. We have an interim agreement, or what is termed a gentleman's agreement, where we're working with.
The Mayor and City Council's City Week celebrations commenced on August 19th and will conclude on August 25th. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
And that's a wrap of today's InfoHub. We leave you with the latest CPL match results and your bridge and weather reports. Goodbye.